Good afternoon, everyone. Well, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. This is the very first episode of this season where call it episode live phone in, where give everyone the opportunity to jump in and just have their say on everything Hull City related. So I'm joined straight away by Josh Senior. Josh, how are you doing, buddy? You well?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all. Not too bad at all.
Good.
Um, what is it you want to speak about? Is it the game and the last kick of the ball where we lost?
Yeah, well, obviously it was a really frustrating end to it. I think at the start of the game he just took a point, and it was the way it ended. I think it probably changed the whole outlook on the game and how we performed and whether it was good enough for us to do what we want to do this season.
Yeah, I'd agree. In way of performance, we often allow results to cloud performances, but I don't think I think it was a performance to match a result, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
don't think there was that good.
I don't think you could argue maybe they deserved to. I'm not entirely sure we deserved to lose. We definitely didn't deserve to win. Um, but I think that when you look back at the stats, they probably did deserve it. In fairness. And I just don't think we didn't have enough going forward. I don't think we didn't seem to create a lot, and anything that was created seemed to come from Delap creating himself, so winning the
Yeah.
ball back and powering through. There wasn't that many chances that we created. I didn't think.
No, I agree with you on that one. I agree on that one. There just seemed to be a big gap, didn't they, where the midfield was meant to be. You know, the part that was meant to link up the attack and defence. It felt like that part was missing for us. And like I said, more stuff came through the lap, creating his own opportunities. What stood out for you from the day?
Our lack of wide options. Um, Traore, I really like Traore, but he's clearly not a winger.
No.
He hasn't got enough pace. I don't think he has enough ideas of what to do when he was out wide. I think he came up against a good fullback and he just couldn't really do a lot to get round him, get past him, or come up with anything. And I think that probably showed all the way through. I think, but then I think we struggled on the left hand side as well. I think Vaughan looked like he was a little bit not quite strong enough. And I think he'll be a really, really good player. I just don't know if he was quite ready for Saturday, maybe against some experienced players.
Do you know it's absolute madness because I don't think the team and the press conferences and stuff like that could have built us up any more than what they did. You know,
No,
I went
no,
into that thinking we're going to walk all over Norwich, and then
yeah,
first kick of the ball happens, and all of a sudden you're worrying. I don't think we're going to get into this, and I think it felt like that for the full of the game. Did you go?
yes, yeah, we went down. I've done Norwich a couple of times. I was expecting the journey that we had, which wasn't the best. But it just felt, I don't know, there was a lot of positivity, and then we sort of went into it, and like I said, as soon as we kicked off, it felt like it died a little bit, and all the hype around it had just sort of gone.
Yeah, I get that. And that can be rough as well. You geared yourself up to get there. It's a trek of a journey as well. It's not a nice journey to get there.
No,
Um,
it's not.
and you'd like to feel a little bit of reciprocation, I think, from the players on the pitch. I do genuinely feel like they were just outmatched. You know, they
Yeah,
were out
I
all.
don't think it was a lack of effort or anything like that. I think they were just more organised and created more. I think that was it really. I think we defended fair. When you consider how many chances they actually had, I think they had 28 shots or something. I think we actually defended pretty well and kept. Maybe if they'd have been more clinical, it'd have been a different story. It could have been 5-6. Um, but I think we were. I don't think it was that they weren't trying.
I think if we cast our minds back a bit to the reverse fixture last season, it was pretty much the same thing. Like they were knocking at our door all game, and somehow we walked away. I think it was a 2-1 win or a 3-1 win in the end, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, I
It was.
think it was, and I think our goals came from mistakes again, a little bit like they did at the weekend.
Yeah.
So it was quite similar to that, but I think the game at their place was quite similar to Saturday. To be fair, they just sort of hammered us all game.
Yeah. Exactly
So
that.
it was a
Exactly
bit.
that.
I do think it was maybe good to get that result out of the way because I think it might make a bit of a difference and maybe it might change opinion on who's coming in, what we do in the transfer window, and maybe how we actually approach other games.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that greatly. I think I saw. Well, I definitely took note of this. I don't know if anybody would agree with me, but last season it seemed to be we'd start with, for example, a kick-off in one formation. Half time, we'd realise it's not working, and then we'd switch over and be like, "Oh, we should have really started with this." And then get plaudits for being able to switch it back around again. Did
Yeah.
you see it yourself last season?
Yeah, I did. To be fair, I think Rossini likes the way he plays, and I think that's it. I don't think there's much changing with him. He's got the way he likes to play, and I think he'll do everything he can to make us win playing that way. He doesn't strike me as someone that's going to sit there and go, right, I'm changing this. I don't like it. It's not working. I think he feels if it's not working, he needs to use other players.
No, I agree. In the build-up to it, we heard about Traore maybe not being up to scratch, maybe not being up to fitness. Apologies, amongst others as well. So to see that he started wide right was a bit of a shock for me initially, to be honest. To say when you want to play with wingers, he doesn't scream winger, does he?
Yeah, and I found that a little bit odd because you've got people like Lakilo, and I know he's not massively experienced, not proven at this level at all. But if you're going to bring him in, I think you give him a chance. If you've not got anybody else to put on that wing, he deserves a chance, surely.
I agree.
And I know a lot of people. I'll get a lot of stick for this, but I think Longman would have done a better job than Traore there on Saturday.
Couldn't agree more. I honestly couldn't agree more.
And I know a lot of people disagree with that, and he's not had the most successful time here since he signed permanently. But surely, if you've got nobody to play on the right wing, instead of playing a predominantly left-footed attacking midfielder there, put a right winger there.
Exactly that. And that I was a big fan of Longman last year. He gets a lot of stick, like you mentioned there. You thought you might get a bit of stick just for mentioning his name in a positive way. Exactly that. The guy was direct. He ran at him, and he knew how to not so much get him behind, but he knew how to stretch a defence, which was or make people defend, which is what we needed at the weekend. We needed to make Norwich defend and not just a long ball. So I agree with that, Josh.
I think when you're defending like that, I think you've got to have some sort of outlet, and we didn't have a lot of pace, especially out wide to sort of break away. If we did get a chance, it was just we collected the ball and then just knocked it around the middle. It was all just a little bit slow, but I think it's the way of playing football, and I think Rossini clearly wants to keep the ball.
Yeah,
and I think his philosophy is if you've got the ball, the other team can't score. But I think the issue is if you don't score, you only take.
You could argue that we didn't really keep the ball at the weekend as well, though. That's the thing.
No, I don't think we definitely didn't. Not enough, I don't think, or not as much as he'd liked to have.
No, 100%. No worries. Well, I know you told me before this that you wanted to get off around 15:15, so thanks for joining. Apologies, I was a little bit enjoy football, and I'll get on to the next lesson. Brilliant to have you on, though. Cheers, Josh.
Yeah, no, cheers. See you later.
Cheers. Buddy. Hi, Lewis. Are you there?
Hello, Matt. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. Weird hearing that voice again. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, it's probably going to be weird for all the other people hearing it as well. So I don't think anyone will be used to it yet.
So you can confirm you're definitely an Hull City fan. Once on the podcast, second time as a phone in. So yeah, I can vouch for that. Did you go on the weekend, Lewis?
Unfortunately, I didn't quite make it. It'll be quite the journey for me all the way up from Newcastle. So no, but I've kept in touch with what's been happening. Eye on the air highlights, and it's not a positive story from what I've heard.
Well, no, it wasn't that at all. I didn't go myself, but I did catch a stream, so I watched it myself, and it was really tough. I thought it was a really, really tough watch. In way of the anticipation, building up to the first game of the season, everyone's always got that buzz, so you're already on cloud nine. Then you see everything that's coming out of the camp in the build up to the first game, which is Rossini speaking very highly of the lads. Alongside that, you've got the players coming out. You see glimpses of how well they're doing and stuff. So you think you're going to go into it like, all guns blazing, and
Well, yeah,
quite the opposite turns. What did you say? You caught the game itself, or did you catch the highlights?
caught the highlights, but like back to that whole optimism. I don't think there's been a first game of the season where there's been more optimism than this in the past 5, 6 years. I'd say, to be honest. I mean, with the signings we've made, it sounded like most people were suggesting would get off to a cracker, but with this loss against what on paper is a better 11, there's been quite a meltdown on Twitter, which I think is slightly unjustified. You have people turning on Rosinia already after one game, 1 out of 46. It's certainly very uncalled for.
Yeah, I get that. You know, it can be used in such a way sometimes. Meltdown, yeah, you can see it because you could be having the best run of your life and you have one loss, and you do see those meltdown people. But I think it was justified in comparison to how well we thought we were going to do in comparison to where we actually landed in way of performance levels. So yeah, I totally get that, and I think that people are right to criticise a bad performance at times. Are you not into that? Do you not?
There's not a case of criticism. I think there was certainly a lot to pick apart about the performance, especially defensively. Credit to the first Norwich goal, absolute credit, but you could have said that should have been closed down a little bit closer. Seri looked a little bit off pace in that one, and the second goal, it's just a calamity of errors, really, which we won't get into that quite yet. But I think a lot of people went very over the top with the criticism and like questioning Liam Rosini after one game, despite a pretty successful pre-season, I'd say. I think if there's anyone to turn it around and to get it into the players to improve for tomorrow evening against Doncaster and also the big game against Wednesday, I think we've got to trust in him.
No, it literally is it. It literally is that. So, do you think we're gonna turn this around tomorrow, or do you think what do you if you're Liam Rosini, what do you do going into this game tomorrow?
I think you've got to give a lot of different players a chance. We've got to bring Oscar in. I think credit to Liam Delap, who's unbelievable. I think he was the biggest surprise on Saturday, especially the way he took his goal, etc. But I think bringing in Estupiñán to start, I think that will be crucial. And such as like Lakilo, the fact that he didn't end up coming off the bench seems a little bit bizarre. But he certainly needs to be given a start against his former club as well, so he might know a thing or two. And I think potential for Conley, Conley to start if he's fit enough as well.
Yeah, this is kind of like a bizarre thing, really, isn't it? Because we look at what's gone on, and midway through the second half, we've got a right back coming on for our right winger. Now, I can get that if you're under the caution, you want to see the game out to some degree. But you go in first game of the season, all we've heard pre-season is that we're going to be treating every game like we want to win it. So I don't then see the want for wanting to go backwards and potentially trying to hold a lead. What did you think?
Yeah, it does seem a bizarre one. You'd think it's a straight swap to bring Lakilo on. It'll be his debut. You'd assume he'd be full of confidence coming into that. He's just got, 20, 30 minutes to prove himself. But it does seem very... I mean, although Christie is a bit more of an attacking wing back, it does seem very negative to bring him on right wing and hold out for a draw when we're already getting peppered by the home side.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. He did a couple of things when he came on. He took a couple of strides forward and got us moving forward. In terms of kind of what happens next, we've got Tuesday night coming up, which is tomorrow. Would you change everything?
I think I saw a few claims to go for a three at the back on Twitter. A couple of people posting about that with Greaves, Jones, and McLaughlin at the back, which I think that would suit the strengths of Christie if he starts being slightly more attacking, and also Vinagre. I think he can sometimes be questionable on the defensive side, and I think Harry Vaughan didn't really do much didn't do him many favours in terms of tracking back, etc. I think that could be a shout if there is a game to try different formations, etc. It certainly is the game to, because we shouldn't be doing that at home to Wednesday, because we really need to get off to a good start there.
I agree. The only counter argument I've got for a free at the back in the current climate is we've only got 3 centre backs that have played competitive football at the Championship level before. If my memory serves me correctly, I could be completely throwing myself under the bus there. We've got Andy Smith, previously playing out at Grimsby, but I don't believe it's a good idea to play your 3 most competent centre backs all at the same time when you only got 3 of them, and the last one is for use of a better word, rookie. That would be.
I think you'd have to go like straight back to recruitment. You'd have to bring in another 1, maybe 2 centre halves if we're going to go for free at the back in the long term. Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, I agree with that. So are you coming through? I know you're Sheffield based. Where are you now? Are you Newcastle or Sheffield?
Still back in Newcastle. On the Friday morning, I'll be making my way down to Sheffield, and then Saturday I'll be getting myself to the KC. Yes. And yeah, first home game with the season ticket. Can't wait for that.
Good man, good man. And so, where's your? Do you go for a drink beforehand? Where's your boozer? No.
I've only been for just the one drink before a game. I know the Botanic's a bit of a hot spot before a game, with the owner being in there beforehand, etc. But no, I've only been to the one pub. I think it's fairly central. I'm not sure the name of it. Oh, it certainly gets a bit of controversy whenever mentioned.
Well, before we go, I just want to ask you about that. In terms of what you've seen on there, I'm very much in pro Botanic Club. Like, I do not understand the stick they get. It makes 0 sense to me, and I'm still waiting for somebody to make a good enough argument for it. Like, what is it? Does it just come from jealousy? Because I don't spend all day searching through Twitter, looking at these trolls to find out why they don't like the place so much. So I want to try and understand it, and somebody to come on and just make it make sense to me. But right now, it doesn't. Like, what's your view on it?
It seems to be like the owners basically capitalised on a fairly popular group of Hull fans and used them in like sort of marketing to like in a way for the club, which is beneficial. But I think there might be a hint of jealousy where Akun is using these like more well-known Hull fans as his front instead of like using the entire fan base in a way. I suppose that might be a reason why people aren't quite as keen. I'm undecided. I don't swing either way, to be honest.
You make a point there, but again, when you drag that back and look at it again, is it really a problem? Not really. If you refer to them as influential fans, is it really a problem?
It's only beneficial for the club, and like you couldn't even imagine the Allams doing anything like that. Like post 2016, just interacting with the fans, meeting them before the game, and like that's unheard of for an owner. And you gotta give credit to no matter which Hull fans he's going to. If he's going to any, you gotta give him credit for that.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Exactly that. Anything else you want to say before I get the next person on?
I think that's me, pal. Thank you very much for getting us on.
Oh, good. No dramas then, buddy. Well, Lou, really appreciate it, mate. Thanks for coming on. Drop me a message during the week. I'll try and bump into you before the game on Saturday. It'd be nice to see you.
Nice one. Sounds good, pal. I'll catch you in a bit.
No worries, mate. All the best. Speak to you soon.
See you then.
Next up, how you doing, Joe? You well?
Hi, Matt. Thought I'd surprise you, mate.
Yeah, well, you did say, nah, I ain't got time for this, mate. I ain't got time for it. I'm too big time for you.
I thought, well, time became free, mate. Time became free. And I saw you were live, so I thought I'll jump on.
Good man. Appreciate that. Just put a top on especially for it. But actually, I'm going to say you're the sort of kid who just lives in Hull City clothes, right?
I am exactly that sort of kid, mate. Honestly, it's all I wear. I'll put a nice shirt on and stuff for going out, but I'll still stick a little City jacket on or something like that. Even like at my prom, people were like, I'm surprised you're not wearing City gear, but I had a little this old City what are they called? Like bracelet things. I'll show you what it is. I can't remember what material it's made out of. Shit, that's unfortunate. Sorry about that. One of these.
Cancelled with wearing, mate. Jeez. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what the officially called, but I stuck that on. Always, yeah. But it's all I wear. It's all I wear. I've had this on since I came back from the gym this morning. So yeah, that's me.
Which kit you got? I can see the this
all
one
three.
in the background.
All three.
You got all three now?
All three. All three.
The camera only shows the home
yeah,
one.
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
I think it's the away one, you know. I think it's the all amber. Yeah, I think it just does it for me. It's something so different, something we've never had as an away kit before, and that draws me to it.
If you'd have said this at the beginning of the season, like pick your colours that you want for an away kit, I can guarantee nobody would have gone for amber. Not
only
one person would have said amber. Exactly.
Only Adjun.
And then there's a couple of meltdowns, you know, with people that I probably don't like the fact that we've got amber in the home kit and amber in the away kit. But
it's only like having black, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've had an all black kit the last 2 years. The year before that, we had a black kit, a black kit with little amber hits here. What's the problem?
Exactly that, Joe. Exactly that. A big fan of the blue one myself. Big fan of the blue one.
I like that.
I've got this one. The ones I don't have are the two that I prefer the most. But I don't like the all black on the back of these.
I don't mind it. I knew because I was told about the amber away kit in quite a lot of advance, and as soon as it came out that it was all black, I thought that's why then, so they can do the all amber. And there's a reason that there's very little amber on the rest of the home kit other than the front. But for someone like my dad who doesn't wear a lot of the home shirts because he's not too keen on having a lot of amber on the shirt, this season's the first home kit he's ever bought.
Oh, this one?
This one. It's the first home kit he's ever bought.
Oh, wow. What's the big difference from then?
There's more black on it. There's more black than amber.
Just that? Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, Joe, did you go at the weekend?
Yes, I did.
What's your thoughts?
Well, my first ever venture into Norfolk, and
Go on.
Oh dear.
Looks good in the rearview mirror, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That car journey. Whew. We left the house at 9:20. We parked up, and having paid for parking on an app, which was the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life, it was 2:00 by the time we'd parked up. We'd had the sat nav took us what it thought was the quickest way, fair enough, but the route, the car sat nav and Google Maps was showing me, because I always get Google Maps up just to double check. It was showing an area of heavy traffic down one of the little country roads it took us down, but it turns out that heavy traffic was road closed. And when we got to that road coming up, we took the diversion, which brought us back out on another road that was closed. Which makes a lot of sense.
This is Norwich all over.
This is Lincolnshire to start with.
Well, yeah, exactly that. Getting over that bridge and going anywhere over that bridge, like if you used to go to London, it sends you down the A1. You generally get sent that way first, and it is the biggest ball ache of a journey ever, because you 9 times out of 10 get stuck behind some slow-moving traffic on a single carriage road. It's just an absolute joke. Yeah, it's exactly that. It's exactly that. So, thoughts on the game then? So, you've gone to Norwich. How was the game for you? How was it in comparison to expectation?
I expected a little bit more. I think we all did, and we were all right to, based on what Liam Rosenior said. But he's come out today and completely contrasted what Justin Walker said after the game. Justin Walker said they were happy with the performance and things like that, but Rosenior's come out today and said no, that's not the case at all. We're we weren't at it. We're not. We have high standards, and we weren't at those standards, and that was clear to see. We nicked the goal, and that's
Agreed.
what this sort of system is designed to do, the press, and having a striker like Delap in that role who is just relentless. He's so powerful. He's now don't laugh at this comparison, but let me explain it. He's he's similar in sort of build and what he's about.
I think I know where you're going here.
To a sort of Haaland player, isn't he? Where he's obviously not at that level, but he's tall, he's imposing, he's powerful, but he's also so quick. And if he gets that finish, if he can nail down that finish like he did at Norwich, which he failed to do in pre-season, he could be the sort of striker we've missed and we've lacked for so long.
And when you put that into the same context of having Aaron Connolly as well, the way he was performing last season, if you've got that little, I don't want to refer to him as little, but I just have. If you've got that terrier-like approach next to someone who's a powerful runner like that, you just feel like you're going to just scream goals if they get that press correct.
And then to add to that, Oscar Estupinian, who is just a born and bred poacher in that 18-yard box, the ball falls to his feet, chances are he's putting it in the back of the net. He just knows where the goal is. And, people saying we need a striker who can get us 15, 20 goals a season. Had it not been for a few injuries and missing the last little bit of the season, last 8 to 10 games, that could have been Oscar. I always say this, and it always comes back to me anyway, for that Rotherham game, where, the ball was pinballing about in the penalty area so much. With Oscar's instinct and his spatial awareness inside that area of knowing where to be at the right time, one of those could have fallen to him, and he could have done anything with that.
Exactly. I'm not the number one fan of Oscar. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think he's a good player. I just don't think him as a player suits the style of player that Liam wants to play.
Yeah, and I see that argument of it. I definitely see that argument, definitely.
So individual performances then, who stood out for you on Saturday?
Oh, Christ.
Dig to the bottom of the barrel for that one, mate.
I thought Alfie Jones was brilliant. Some of the stuff, he looks so much more comfortable with that ball down on the floor now than he did a year ago. It's remarkable what Rosinha has done to him. Little turns and stuff like that. We wouldn't have seen that a year ago.
He dabbled in it a bit, didn't he, in League One? We was also at home watching the games at home, weren't we, in League One? And he dabbled in it a bit when he did that CDM role. But again, it was only neat and tidy, the odd little bit here and there. And
that CDM role was temporary as well, only while Smallwood was out, wasn't it?
Exactly that. Again, exactly that. So if, for example, if you was an outsider looking in at our team, especially towards the back end of last season and this first game, and you saw that one of our defenders was linked with AS Roma, you would not put that on Greaves, would you?
No. Not a centre-back being shoehorned at left-back. You'd have it on McLaughlin or Jones, who had impressed so consistently in that midfield. And I do just touching on Greaves. Against Knowles, for me, he looked a bit more complete than we've ever seen him before. He looks comfortable with the ball at his feet even more now than what he already was, because, coming up his age group and younger, people my age are taught to be comfortable with the ball at your feet. Goalkeepers, they're schooled on the basics, but then it very quickly moves on to, right, this is the ball, get used to knocking this about with your feet. And Greavesy against Nantes looked very, very complete in that aspect. But Sean McLaughlin there's something about Sean McLaughlin. His presence on the pitch just seems to radiate calmness and defensive solidarity.
Do you know what the only frustrating thing is about McLaughlin? Is he's so prone to that diag. You know,
He is.
I get it's an out ball, you know, and we saw it all the time with Andy Dawson. Then we saw it again with Mike Dawson when he get Michael. So nobody's ever called him Mike with Michael Dawson. We saw it all the time with that as well. Now we've got it again with Maka, and I just worry that sometimes he uses it a little too often, which is a bit of a kick when really there's an out ball. Speaking of Greaves, though, staying on the topic of Greavesy, I think we saw the best of him when he played in the left of the three at the back.
Agreed.
Because he was able to do that role like Maguire got, you know, where he was able to step
He
out.
had that freedom, didn't he, to go forward. He could have that confidence, knowing, right, I could maraud forward in a Maguire-esque way, knowing that there were two centre-backs to back him up, and he'd have a wing-back or a full-back with him as well, plus Keno. And
what would you, going completely off track now, and going back to the Norwich game, what were your thoughts on the last goal?
It stings, doesn't it?
And remember, we're live, so I could get in trouble if you say something bad.
I will bite my tongue. Well, it is clear that the corner, which was sort of dealt with, but then wasn't really dealt with before they scored, was not a corner. That's clear. That's clear as day.
Yeah.
But I see Liam and Justin's argument of Sean is fouled, and as he's getting back up, that's when it hits him, and that's why Ida, who's in an offside position, can score. But equally, we have to deal with the corner and defending the cross better.
Why is that?
If you watch the goal back, Slater half goes out to Marcelino Nunez, but then stops and points and basically sort of gestures to the middle, right, ball's coming in, pick this man up. He should be closing Nunez down and making it difficult for him to get that ball in, and Slater being the barrier, potentially blocking the cross. If it goes out for a throw-in, game done.
The only counter I've got to that is the part you mentioned there about Slater, without watching it back and seeing exactly what you're pointing to. But more often than not, when you see a player do that, when they stop mid-press to say, keep an eye on that guy, is they don't know they can fully commit, because they could just be creating that pass for the next person. You need to make sure he's covered, don't you? That's the only counter argument I've got for that, and that's only a hypothetical based on...
because if Slater pressed, he could have moved it on to the man that Slater was next to, and we could have been in a totally different position.
Exactly. Probably don't score either. You know, that's probably the bad pass. They've got fortunate to get the ball through that gap and it to fall on Ida's feet. You know, and Ida's scuffed it into the back of the net.
Probably.
The tough thing is,
someone in my comment section on my vlog said there's only one person at fault for this, and that's Matt Ingram. I'll see if I can find actual comment, but I don't think I responded to it, and for good reason.
That's banter. That's got to be banter. There's no way they're saying that seriously. Absolutely no chance of saying that seriously. Oh man.
Let me have a look. Let me go to my video. A lot of comments on this one. I've replied to most of them, but we've got most recent ones. Norwich City FC - whatever, cry laughing face, which is its own thing.
Oh god, is it so?
It makes for grim reading, I will be honest.
Go on.
That's the moaning about the referees. Got away with, that's another point as well. Refereeing balances itself out. We should have conceded a penalty.
100%.
100%. Louis Coyle handballs it once and then realises, right, the referee's not seen that, and this is on my wrong side. Bit of basketball for you. 100% a penalty.
However, you know, when we're talking about inconsistency of refereeing decisions, I don't think that this, you know, the referee automatically gets stick for example, the goal because the ball went out for a goal kick and it's given as a corner. The ref gets stick for that when really it's a line-up. the liner's there to support him.
Well, yeah, the
literally 3
linesman,
yards away.
McLaughlin is the last man.
Yeah.
The linesman should be with Sean McLaughlin, but
So-
he's not.
Multiple times he's failed, and it's so easily said in football where it's the ref's fault. The refs let us down.
But the linesmen
It's the
in the
officials.
Championship are terrible. Every
Yeah.
single time there's an offside or a foul or anything like that, it's always right. Let's say I'm the linesman. Look to the referee. What's the referee? Oh, he's given a free kick. The referee's given offside. All right, I'll flag offside then.
But while we are
It's
talking,
always the linesman should be making the first move, but they're always making the second move, a reactionary move to whatever the referee sees.
exactly, and what was all the part up in the air as well, where it's we're going to check see if it's actually been whether there's actually offside. Like there's some sort of VAR review.
Well,
what
I
was the delay
believe
for?
it was shown. The replays are being shown on the big screen,
Ah,
and there are some people saying, "I can't say I didn't take notice of the big screen. We couldn't see it, and I didn't even realise there was one there until Louis Coyle started pointing at it."
yeah.
But there are some saying Norwich rotated their big screen so that the referee and the linesman couldn't see it when they were making the decision. I'm not sure. But game's the game, I suppose. If
Yeah,
you've got
exactly.
the tools to do it, do it. But
I mean, you can get relegated on day one, apparently, according to some fans. So you can get promoted on day
we're
one as
going
well.
down now. That's it.
So
That's it. We dropped 1 point on the opening day. That's it.
So anyway, we're speaking about ref inconsistencies. The foul on Aaron Connolly from Shane Duffy.
Yes.
What card are you giving?
Yellow.
Yellow. I got red.
Really?
Red. Yeah, it's cynical. It's
cynical.
It's a clear foul. He's not attempted to play the ball at all. He knows exactly what he's doing there. He's too far out to call him last man. I agree with that. Do you back there's a second move where he kicks out at him?
That's why, because it's so far out, I wouldn't go for a red.
I think it's just about an hour and a half, or maybe just about in their half. I only saw it at the time, so I haven't seen any real replays back. But there's a second kick out from Shane Duffy, and all of a sudden I'm like, that's not cool. That don't fly. You don't do that sort of stuff. But again, VAR probably sees that. It wasn't quite as obvious as Lauren James today, but there's a slight kick out there, right?
She got away with that one, didn't she, with the penalties? My God, the builder out there.
I tell you what, and this, I've got to make sure I word this correctly. She's fortunate, I think, that she is playing within the women's game because the fan base isn't as big, and not every person who watches a men's game watches a women's game.
Yeah,
and by that, what I mean,
I was in the gym watching that, and I saw the stamp and stuff like that while I was in between sets, and I thought, wow, she's David Beckham, that, hasn't she?
And if we wouldn't have gone through, and it had been a men's game, could you imagine
if that was
the backlash?
Declan Rice or Jordan Henderson or Jude Bellingham in that situation? I think they would be a bit more scapegoated than Lauren James was.
Politely
but I mean, she'll learn from that, won't she? She's a phenomenal player, and
levels above many there.
Oh yeah, so many levels above, and I think, England losing her, it will be a miss because there's already having players missing going into it. She was shining through really, and no Beth Mead, and Lauren James filled that void. But it's going to be interesting to see what Serena Wiegman can do as we move through into the quarters.
Let's just touch on this comment we've got here from Tiger Nicola. He's put long and short is, if Mako wasn't fouled, probably wouldn't bounce off him to either. Not offside when the cross came in and came off our player, so not offside.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a foul and not a corner in the first place. Yes, it hurts because of circumstances, but in reality, we deserve to lose the game overall.
That last sentence is exactly how I'd sum it up. Exactly how I'd sum it up. If either team deserved to win it, it was Norwich. Simple as. We didn't have enough of a foothold in the game, and we didn't create enough to warrant getting any more than a point.
I think the only real frustration can come from this is we were there or thereabouts. We were 30 seconds away from getting a very undeserved
30
point.
seconds over.
Yeah.
And Liam's come out and said today that the fourth official said to him, right, because Ingram's moved that ball, we're going to play 15 more seconds. That 15 seconds were gone by the time the ball came up the pitch to go out for the corner anyway.
Oh, really?
There will have to be, look, they will review this, of course they will, but will meaningful change be made? I still think the easiest solution is stop the clock.
I agree. Like the rugby. Just
like the rugby. I'll defend football all the way when it comes to rugby, and I don't care for it in the slightest. But one thing they do better than us is they're stopping the clock and their sort of integration of VAR.
Discipline. The discipline as well from players. You will never ever, well, I say never ever, it's very rare you see players kick off in rugby the way they do it, the way they do in football, and that level of discipline could be well transitioned over to our game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you've just got to look at Racinia's sending off. We still don't really know what it was for. Liam said he didn't insult anyone, he didn't swear, but he still got sent off. He's kept a lid on his anger to an extent, but he's still got the harshest punishment possible for it. So I'm not really sure how that correlates.
This is going to sound a little bit hypocritical just on the back of what I've just said in terms of level of discipline. I do believe, though, providing it's done the right way, you should be able to challenge. You should be able to ask, what have you given there? Why have you done that? Explain that to me.
If you phrase it the right way, if you phrase it the right way, exactly how you've just there, just questioning, and don't say you bleeping.
Go on. Don't do it.
Yeah, if you stay away from that and don't call the referee an incompetent little sod, then you can get away. You can challenge, and the referee should be able to prove why they've given such a decision.
I just think it's a little bit unrealistic in the heat of the highest level of competitive football to only be able to communicate through a captain.
Yeah, 100%.
Captain's in. Have a word, please. Sorry, people are seeing red. People are, what I mean? People cannot control their anger as well as others. It's the reason we're all different. But
I mean, all you've got to do is look at when the referee and the linesman were discussing what happened in the 96th minute on Saturday. You had Louis Coyle there. Jacob Greaves stood a couple of meters away, and then the rest of the team were very, very quickly told to get lost.
Yeah.
When Xavier Simons was the biggest protester of the lot as soon as the goal went in, the way he had his arms out, you'd have thought he'd have scored it. But he was raging, and to ask players when they've seen that and it's been right in front of their eyes to say, you know what, right, Louis and Jacob, as our captain and vice captain, I'm gonna swear and lose my head at you so you can get my point across. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and Tiger Nicholas just gone on to say again, he said if there's no emotion in the game, there wouldn't be competition, and emotion is what makes the sport competitive.
Exactly that.
He's nailed it again. Two from two there, Tiger. I won't disclose his real name. But yeah, he's hit the nail on the head there, and what an absolute treat the sport is. I say this to many, many, many people, and whenever I have any sort of disagreement with anyone over football, I generally conclude with the beauty of the game is the fact we can both watch the same thing and have
and interpret it to total polar opposite ways.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you're right. It doesn't mean I'm right. We both got our own way and our own preference lead that bias. So, Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining, man.
No problem,
really
mate.
Appreciate it.
Looking forward to chatting to you a little bit more. People watching coming soon.
New episode coming soon. It's going to be a good one. But yeah, thanks
for
getting
prepared already, mate.
Have you?
Yeah.
No teasers. But you do need to send it across to me beforehand. All right.
Okay. Graphics and stuff.
Yeah. You know the score.
I get you. Don't worry.
Cheers.
I know the feeling.
All the best, buddy. Well, thanks a lot, everybody who's tuned in. Really appreciate it. This is going to be a weekly thing. So, like I say, thanks everybody who's tuned in. Pleasure is all mine. Thanks a lot.